Hey everybody, welcome back to McMaster's Chronicles. I'm Jonathan,
And I'm Joy.
and we are going to be talking a little bit more, I think today, just about like our personal history and how, well, we already talked about some family childhood abuse and things that happened, but how the church or the cult used that to keep us in there. Um, and it's kind of a thing that we believe is happening right now too many with several members there, but it's like I think in the last video you talked about how um, it was almost a better place for you to be in
Mm-hmm.
than your own home.
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know that's people prey on the weak,
The vulnerable,
they're
the
vulnerable.
children, and the
Hmm.
youth.
And just like people that we know have been members for a long time, or people that we know that have joined, throughout the time there, it's like when you kind of hear more about them and who they were,
They have traumatic
it
childhoods
yeah,
and stories.
experiences, and so they come in, the church comes in as like the saving grace, and they use it in God's name, like God is the one that's doing this, and healing, which that's the thing about it, is God does heal, God does restore and everything, but in there it's like it's more like almost like a sin if you're committing sin if he doesn't restore something.
Yeah, if you're
you know
talking about your past, then that means you're not moving forward, and
yeah,
you don't want to be healed. You don't want to. It's like you're somehow less spiritually. Um,
they use the you like they use
oh
that.
my goodness, baby.
This is Hamilton, in case you've not seen him before. He is one of our two Bengal cats.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. um they used the whole, especially the pastor emeritus there, he used the like past, like you couldn't ever even like think about the past or talk about the
How would
past.
he do that? I remember forgive and forget.
Yeah, and they used the verse, I can't even
I
remember,
will
it's
do
like
a new thing. Shall you not know it? That's the one
that's
in
one of them,
Isaiah.
and like I can't remember, but the former things were passed away, all things have become new.
Oh
They would use that
yes.
verse as if like you're not still human and have trauma from
Mm-hmm.
your history, and so it was almost like a
But then you also have trauma. You have
from what's
trauma from
happening
your
currently.
household,
Yeah, exactly.
but then you also have spiritual trauma and
Right.
physical and
So it was
financial and
almost, it was like a way
current
for,
trauma. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a way for them to just get you to be like, forget about all the bad things, like especially bad things they did
Mm-hmm.
to us, and you can't talk about them anymore. Um, but I don't know if you want to talk about your upbringing, but or I can start with mine, because I had that whole escape that I made from my
Yeah, I
family.
think you can talk about yours and then I can talk about mine.
I think it was my sophomore year in college, I think is what it was. We had actually just moved like states, and we're living um, in North Carolina,
From
and
South
from
Carolina.
South Carolina. And I was honestly just kind of tired of everything, mostly not really from the church, because at the time the church wasn't like super
The
involved,
money
because
thing wasn't huge
I
yet.
wasn't a part of that because I was in college. The
Yeah.
church wasn't really even like super organized, because half the church was in South Carolina, half was in North Carolina. So that wasn't really a thing. It was really more my family, and I love my family. I love, I pray for and love my dad a lot, but there was just like a lot of there's a lot of legalism. That's one way to put it, like for my whole life. And I think one thing I might have shared before is that my dad basically um, would just like regurgitate what the pastor emeritus would say to him, like my whole childhood. Like if I did something wrong, or if my dad told the pastor about something that I did or whatever, then he would get on to me, but it would be like hours long conversations and grilling about like, and I had to come to some conclusion that he wanted me to get to. It was always kind of like a pre-planned conclusion, but that's because one big reason is the pastor emeritus would always tell my dad, like, he needs to say this, or you need to get him to say these things. And I wasn't a part of those conversations, but that's what he would do to me whenever I would talk to somebody else.
So the way that pastor emeritus would have conversations is he would basically want a certain result, a certain posture from the person, which is pretty much complete and total submission and like putting your brain
and it's like
on a shelf, kind of type things. No question. Like, you questioning something means you're rebellious. You questioning something means that you're not fully on board, like, kind of thing.
Well, all the things, like whenever I would go talk to somebody who had left the church or whatever, the pastor would always tell me, like, you focus on this one thing, you only talk about this one thing until he or the person you're talking to admits it or says it themselves. It was like there was no conversation, there was no whatever. It was like
it's
one
interrogation.
Goal. Yeah, it was like one goal. So I'm sure he did the same thing. There's no reason for me to believe not, but either way, I know that my dad basically would just do whatever he would say, because I've seen it for my whole life.
And what you know too is that your dad would not stop talking about something until you had said a certain thing.
Exactly.
Which is very reminiscent of how the pastor emeritus would talk with us, and how the pastor emeritus would talk to the whole congregation, and how the pastor emeritus required us to talk with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically it got to a point when we had moved that things in our house were like just really not okay, in the sense of super legalistic, rules, no life, no joy. My dad would just get mad, or like he would take things and just that he was told to talk to me about or whatever. And then I remember one time where the pastor emeritus and his wife would always come and live with us, because we lived in North Carolina and they hadn't moved yet. And I would get in trouble all the time when they came up. But I remember one time it was like, because me and my mom and my sister were saying like the things that my dad is doing just aren't good and we didn't like it and we talked about it, then we all got in trouble for not respecting my dad, because that goes back to how the church is like uber patriarchal in like a very unhealthy way, in the sense of like, it doesn't matter what, you can't talk about it, you can't whatever. My mom got in trouble for being upset with my dad, all this stuff. And so my dad got like all this like power, and he thrives on power, and his power was given by pastor emeritus. And so it just got worse. The rules, the anger. And I remember one time, like, I was talking to him in the garage and he just got really upset about me, makes me repeat things to him. And like, it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's very, very like, you're not even a person type of communication. And I left in the middle of the night one night to go to
he's eating my hair.
He is.
But stop eating my hair, okay? You left in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I was gonna go to California. I wanted to live in Los Angeles. I was like, this is, I don't know, I don't have anything there, but I wanted to do something. But by the time I did leave, I got to Dallas, Texas, and I flew there and was on a layover. And I had emailed the pastor emeritus telling him everything that had happened and how my dad had treated me and all that stuff. And that gave the pastor emeritus a very good avenue to play the good guy savior. And he was like, I'll protect you even from your dad, all this stuff. So kind of like how it was for you, like I felt like he was, or the church was, a safer place than my own family.
The irony
But
is that he was the one that
was causing all
your
of
dad.
that. Yeah.
And like your dad is responsible for what he did as well.
Yeah.
But he is being also heavily influenced by the pastor emeritus. But the pastor emeritus acts like he can, you guys, he can take a step back. No.
I don't know if y'all can hear it, but he's hissing. One of them went to the vet today.
When one goes to the vet, the other one hisses at them because they smell different, and it's like a threat to them, and then it's this thing. But
yeah. So I was coming, like, I was talking to the pastor emeritus and feeling like I was going to be safe because I didn't have to deal. Like he quote unquote heard me in my email.
And I think you also probably didn't have as much clarity as you do now on the situation.
Well, yeah.
Then. So like now, it just doesn't work anymore because you see it.
Right.
But then you were not fully seeing that it was the pastor emeritus doing that. Yeah, so you're more...
So, yeah, I came back. I lived with the pastor for like a week until they moved to North Carolina, and then all this stuff happened. But like then that's when later, actually, like a few years down the road when I was really a part of the church, that's when I started really seeing feeling the effects of the church abuse with the finances and all that stuff. But I was so wrapped up by then of like, these people help me, these people are there for me, these people are good, these people have been, protecting me even from my own family if they were hurting me. Like, so it was much harder for me to see because of all of the good that they had done for me and my difficult times, like when I left and went off to California. And I'm sure you can tell your story. That's the same type of thing of how they give you a better place.
Yeah, well, for one thing, I will say it's like a different environment. It's not an environment where there's like yelling, because there's like a lot of yelling in my home. There's like a lot of yelling. There's like physical abuse and like spanking and like just like a lot of things that are more like overt. Just like a lot of yelling, a lot of like dealing with so that was not going on. Like what was happening is like what I knew of everybody was I liked going to church because I liked worshiping, and I liked kind of being with people, and those things were not overtly happening. So like I didn't really realize that abuse is covert. Abuse can be just simply talking, because it doesn't really have to be someone hurting, like someone physically punching you or hitting you. It can be with words, it can be with influence, it can be with that. And so I basically experienced both, but I didn't know I was experiencing both. So
because one is a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
It's so much more subtle that you're just like,
yeah.
At first you feel like, oh, this is great, like better because you're not seeing the overt like manifestations of it.
Yeah.
But it's like mental and emotional, spiritual, just like you start doubting yourself, all the things.
Yeah. So I would say it was the greatest and most direct for me when I started dating you.
Well, because
it got cray.
I was so closely connected to the pastors.
You were so closely connected, and so it was different. And the biggest thing that happened was when basically I was living, well, I mentioned I had the most direct contact with him, with the pastor emeritus and all of that, when I was in college, kind of when I was dating you, which is like basically 2014, 2015 on.
Mm-hmm.
Other people were more in my life. Other pastors were more the ones that I talked to before.
So you were saying that that was the first like contact you had?
Well, directly, but I would say that he had been influencing my life for my whole life, which is what, if you watch the other videos, which we'll link the videos in the comments. But growing up, he had controlled dynamics, hierarchical structure, how my family was, all that. And so he had been controlling my life for my whole life. But I didn't really know that until now, until you have clarity. But basically around 15, that's when really everything really went super bad with my family, with the separation of my parents. And that separation of my parents, I heard multiple stories about it. I was told directly that I was responsible for if my parents would get back together, that if I didn't obey what was said by the pastor emeritus or by the church, that that I would be hurting my family, and agreeing with my parent who was separating from my other parent. And so I obviously was like, I didn't want my parents to be separated, and it just felt all like so wrong, because it was wrong. Like they didn't need to be like separated. And so, but that is really where like everything was forged with, if you do this with this person, that means this about you. If you do this, that means you really agree with that. If you do this, then you get. So, I mean, I'm 15 at this point. I'm barely like hanging on, in life, because I also have during this time like severe stomach problems. Like my body, like looking back on it, it's just my body was like just shutting down, like rejecting what was going on, rejecting under just a tremendous amount of stress and too much pressure for any person. And it wasn't right. And it was, and the pastor emeritus would say, it's not because of the church. It's not because of this. It's not because of that. It's not because of this. It's not because of that. And they would, basically, things got so bad living with one of my parents that I was like afraid, because they got so angry. But then, because it was a bad church, the protectors of the court didn't listen to me when it was so bad. So now I know why they didn't listen to me, because they knew it was bad, but they didn't believe me that my parent was also bad. And so that's also kind of crazy to look back on. But but side note, but like it was really, really bad. I eventually lived with one of my parent that was safer, in the sense of like there wasn't yelling, there wasn't like, I wasn't afraid of that parent. And I also saw how like hurt that parent was, and I hated it so much, and I didn't understand why. And anyway, and so that he basically, I was fleeing a lot. I was fleeing that situation that shouldn't have been. I was fleeing, kind of like realizing, like, wait a second, like, I don't have to be afraid of this person. I don't need to be with this person. Also wanting to be with them because you have to have, like, it's natural to want, like, both parents. And so there's a lot of damage done with that, with, like, being like, you just need to move on. You can't, you wanting that means that you want divorce. You desire divorce. You want this. And there's just a lot of stuff that was put on me when I did not deserve to be put. That was just very inappropriate and very abusive and very not okay. So that happened when I was starting 15. I was in high school when that happened. And so obviously I'm dealing with all this at home. I'm taking care of people at home. I'm doing things that 15-year-olds don't normally do. And I'm seeing other people live normal lives. And I'm like, wow. They have a mom, they have a dad. They don't yell, they don't scream, they don't hit, like, certain families didn't do that. And so, like, to me, it's safer, so much safer, so much different, so much better. And that is kind of like what, why I thought it was fine. Like, I thought it was okay. Up until kind of really when we started dating, that's when I was like, what in the world? Like, and then I was gaslit very, very heavily by everybody being like, no correction is joyous, and blah, 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 blah.
They would just do so many justifications for
So
what they
many
did.
justifications. So that was kind of really when I was like, who in the heck is this guy? But yeah, that's kind of when it was. But so yeah, that is kind of my general backstory. And so we want to kind of talk about how they used your history against you. Like, for me, I can say my example of when, I know I've used this before, but the pastor emeritus called me a bitch. And that was kind of one of the first times I had interacted again. And I was like, I tried to gaslight myself. I was unsuccessful. So, like, after a service, I'm sitting in the back. And one of the pastor's wives comes up to me. She's like, what's going on with you? I'm like, I just keep thinking about this, and it's really just not okay that happened. Like, it's not okay. Something's not right there. Of course, I trusted this person because she had also helped me through a really hard time, a time that shouldn't have been so hard. But part of the reason why it was so hard was because of the church. And so, so I trusted her, obviously. Listen, this is when I learned I couldn't tell her these things. So then I'm told on. And
it's your fault.
It's basically, this is when it became my fault that I had harbored this bitterness against the pastor, that how could I be saved? Like, I don't know if it's how could I be saved yet.
I don't think it got to that point.
It was like, how could I care about them? How could I this? How could I that if I had thought those things? And that's when I wanted to leave. I told Jonathan I wanted to leave. He wasn't ready. That was 2017. But that's also in the after where I had to apologize to everybody for having a problem being called a bitch. I had to apologize for that. And then that's when they said to me, you still have trauma from your family. You still have trauma, and that's why you are having a problem with this. You still have trauma. That's what's wrong. in October 2021, another extremely horrible time. In the middle of like being berated and everything, that's when Pastor Emeritus said, "Who do you have to turn to?" Because he knew that I didn't have anyone that I felt like I could go to because of my history. And so that is kind of what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how they use your abuse to keep you trapped. And they'll like analyze, say like someone from the outside comes in. And so like they would do this with my brother too. And they would be like, he doesn't seem to be doing well. And somehow make that a reason like to like stay. And it's sort of like an us versus them thing. It's sort of like a black and white thinking thing where like if someone out here, and the fact that there's an in and an out, again, that's not a good sign. Mm-mm. But someone out here may have something bad going on in their life, may not be completely on this page, may not be completely this, may not be completely that. And they will make it be sort of like, if you want to be with them, that means you're like them. And of course you're not like them. Because like say that the person's doing drugs, which we do have people doing that. You know, we did have people doing drugs. We did have people partying. We did have people doing this crazy things. And so it's like, well, I want to do that. So it's sort of like you're viewing the world, not just because you're like, I'm viewing the world this way. You're being made to view the world in a very divided way. If I wanted to have a relationship with my parents, it meant I agreed with divorce. And so that is just incredibly cruel and also very inaccurate.
I remember, I don't know if
very inaccurate. If I wanted to have a relationship with my brother, but my brother but my brother had a relationship with my parents, that meant he agreed with divorce. That means if I had a relationship with my brother, that means I agreed with divorce.
You couldn't even hug your family.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Because my aunt had a scary situation happen with her. I was really upset. I wanted to go see her. I got in trouble for going to see her.
I got in trouble.
No, it was because they did not like it. They did not like it. And then they said, "Did you hug them?" And I said, "Yes." Apparently, I wasn't supposed to hug them.
Because you hugging them meant that you agreed with all of them or whatever, which is stupid.
And also, I would just like to point out that is not love. Like, you can disagree with people and still love them. And I am able to do that. You can disagree with someone and still be like, yeah, that's not okay, but I love you, and this is how it happened with me. This is what's going on with me, but I'm going to love you anyway. It's totally possible. It's totally biblical. This is not we're not talking about crazy stuff. It's just always contrived and to keep me in and to keep me trapped. Mm-hmm. And to keep me isolated, and they're doing it with people in there right now. Well,
because people in there, I think, almost every family. So there was a period of time where a lot of our generation was really young in the church. 10 and younger, right around that age. And we all grew up together and we kind of knew each other. But then we all became adults or teenagers or whatever. But almost every family, except for the pastor emeritus's family, even though he did it too, and we heard that from, it just was kind of covered up. Every family had some form of abuse in the household. Mm-hmm. And so we know
whether it was pastor led
or not,
there was
some sort of abuse in the household. Mm-hmm. And so we know then that people in there right now have had the same childhood abuse in some form or fashion.
Maybe they had strict rules. Maybe they had legalism. Maybe they had different versions for different people.
Versions, different people. But it happened to every child in that church.
Yeah. And it also happened in church as well.
In church, yeah. And so we know that these people who are now young adults in there have been through childhood trauma, some form or fashion, and that is being used to keep them in there, because it's like that's being used of like your parents know what they're supposed to do to repent and deal with the pastors directly or whatever. And so that is a way to keep the child away from the parents, because it's like the parents are supposed to come to the pastor and deal with it or whatever.
And they act as your protector, and they'll analyze what your family member's doing. And if the family member maybe didn't handle it their best way, and that is like the literal worst thing.
Yeah.
Because, oh my goodness, it means you can't talk to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It means you have to sign this thing and they can't come near you. It means this, it means that.
So like, I know they did, you mentioned it, how like, who do you have to turn to? The pastor emeritus preached, and it's not just us who he targets. He targets literally every other person, including his kids and other pastors. He targets his own children. There. And he had this message, and I think we've said this before, but where he would talk about how the other pastors would be nobody if they were in another church or another place. Like this is where God has them. He said that about me as a deacon. He was like, Jonathan wouldn't have like purpose or wouldn't have any place if he was not in this church as the deacon or whatever. And it was like, basically, I don't know if you remember, it was right after my surgery. One of those.
I remember it.
And it was like,
I also think the lights were turned off in that.
Yeah.
On that particular message.
I think so. But anyway, so like, it's very much like, who do you have? Who would you be without us? Who would you have to go to without us? I didn't have any family, because my family was literally my whole life. My mom, my dad, my sister. Yeah. That was it.
And your extended family,
I didn't know any of them.
A lot of them passed away.
There's some that were alive. I knew one of my cousins in college for a little bit, because she went to the same college as I did, Clemson. But like, it was very much, another thing is that they would say for years, and I think they even said this about some of your siblings, of like, the world out there is so rough, like you won't survive the world without this protection. They'd always talk about the protection that the church gave, and you're not going to be able to survive. They didn't say that
kind of stuff about my siblings.
They did about one of them, I remember.
Oh, did they?
Very much so.
Okay.
Because she was the bad one in the church who was lost and had to be saved or whatever. And they're like, you're going to either go out and become this, or you're going to get saved.
Oh, remember they did that? No.
She was going to be either a porn star or she was going to get saved.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously, that did not happen.
I do not remember.
Yeah, it's because the other person who was lost at the same time, the pastor was like, you probably think I'm talking about this person, but I'm really talking about them. Yeah. So,
I think I was very young when
you were very young.
So yeah. I probably
was
not picking up on that.
So, but basically they would say like, who do you have? It's so dangerous out there. You're not going to survive without us. And then if you did hear that other people who had left were doing well or surviving or whatever, it was like, that's only for a short time. And then it's
they're
all
still preaching that.
Oh, they are.
They're like, Holy Spirit's going to get them. Holy Spirit's going to get them. They're going to kill them. You know,
it's just like this stuff of like, but this is, like, it's really to make you afraid to ever be away from them, because you're like, I thought a lot of times, and you either in there right now or somewhere like this, you might think the same thing, is that once you leave this protection that you have, it's spiritual protection. You can't even put your finger on it, because
special spiritual
force field. Yeah, it really, that's what it felt like.
There's nowhere in the Bible though.
No, but like, it was like, that's the one.
Oh wait, They called it a hedge of protection.
Yeah.
That's what they called
Yeah.
it. I remember.
And so I would think that,
sermons
like,
about that.
if I were to be gone, then I would all of a sudden get sick, or my heart would fail.
Which is just like what they said to your parents when you left. They said you were going to have a shorter life.
Yeah. So, like, it's just like you are scared to leave because of that. And they use all of your, so it's like a combination. They use your trauma.
So, like, for the people in there, or for someone in that situation that probably doesn't have a great relationship with their siblings or with their parents, due to trauma, due to also not being able to talk with them because of the church.
Yep.
What do you do?
That's a good question.
It's something that I definitely want to reiterate, that Jonathan and I are here for you.
Yes.
Like, if you were in that situation and you don't know what to do, we're here for you. Yep. You are not alone. And also, like, just because, say you know something in there is wrong, it doesn't mean that what happened to you with your family didn't happen to you. Both can be true. There isn't either or. It's not either or. It's both, actually. It's both, actually, which is also crazy, also upsetting. But
here's, like, something that I want to say that I want you to know, whether you're in that place or whether you're in a place not in this specific church. We are here for you. If you want to email us, send us your phone number, ask for our phone number, we can talk to you. If that's just the first step that you want to make, we don't have to, we can just be an outlet for you to talk to. You are loved because you are a person. You are not, you're not somebody that is just for the benefit of the use of somebody else, whether it's in anything. For me, it was financial. I was just the financial provider person. But you are loved for who you are as a person.
God loves you.
God loves you.
We love you.
We love you. You are important. You are a person. I want you to know that you do not have to continue to be in this place where you are. And if just an email, a phone call, anything helps you to just talk about this stuff, we can keep it private. Nobody's going to know about it. That way you don't get in trouble with the people you're around. But, like, it's important. It was important for me, and I still, like, deal with this, is like my whole life, my being loved or being cared for was dependent upon what I provided. If I provided the money, then I was this great person. If I didn't, then I was this bad person. If I did all of this work at the pastor's house, I was this great person. If I gathered all the men together to provide the money or do whatever, I was this great person. But if I didn't, then I was this bad person. And it was very conditional love.
And then they would say, that didn't happen.
Totally.
You're loved.
They would gaslight me.
There's nothing that.
But there is no, like, you can't.
But there was a literal change in how they viewed you, treated you, saw you.
Yeah.
If you did not bring in the money, and if you did bring in the
money. Right. And they would gaslight you to say that's not the case, that's not true, whatever. But I'm here to tell you, like, the pastor emeritus was really, well, I wouldn't say he was successful, but he really was good at always rewriting history.
Yeah.
He would paint history with a broad stroke of, you've always been this way. This has always been this way. You've never loved us. You've never really cared. You've never whatever. And it's like, you lived the stuff. You lived through that time, and you know exactly what happened, things that said, things that were done. And you're like, you can't tell me, and now I have, like, the ability to say this, but you can't tell me this didn't happen. I lived it, and I saw it with my own eyes. So, like, that. You know the things that have happened, that they've said, that they've done, that they've covered up with whatever excuses. But I just think it's important. I just want to stress that, like, you're loved, you're important, you can be in a place that you experience the love and care that is just honest. And that's what we're here for. That's really why we do what we do, because we want people that were in a similar place like us to get out and to have somebody to go to. We didn't really have anybody to go to. We had some people that we went to, but there's a whole lot of just learning and just a whole lot of stuff. But we're here for you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
No.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope it's helpful. Like I said, email us, mcmasterschronicles@gmail.com. Write us on Facebook, Instagram, comment on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. It's very helpful. It helps us get this out to more people. And we look forward to sharing our next video with you soon. Bye.